Have you started selling printables on Etsy? Or maybe you've been thinking about starting. Either way, you and I are kindred spirits. I built my printables business to 20K in 1 year on Etsy, and I want to help you do the same. I've been making some big mistakes over the years that I want to share with you so you don't make the same mistakes I did. When you first start selling printables or anything on Etsy, you're just throwing things at the wall to see what sticks. Am I right? That's probably why I started coaching people to sell printables on Etsy, because I didn't have that kind of guidance for myself as I grew my shop. But I want you to feel supported selling printables on Etsy. Here's mistake number 1. Have you ever wanted to sell or have sold something that was inspired by Harry Potter, Mickey Mouse, Disney zombies, or something else? I used to think that if I didn't use any of the clip art from the brand or the same font, but just use some of the same colors and titled the listing with inspired by, it would be okay to sell on Etsy. In actuality, it's not. And this is honestly a recent learning. And let me tell you, I'm not giving you any legal advice here. Just my learnings on selling on Etsy. And the reason it's not okay is you're still using the brand name to bring in customers. Now, if something truly was inspired by a branded item, I could maybe still sell it by using similar colors and fonts, but wouldn't be able to use the actual name in my listings. But you might be saying, Lindsay, are you sure it's not okay? I see people on Etsy doing it all the time. Well, the reason I know is that I've gotten caught more times than I want to admit. So stick with your generic items when you're selling on Etsy, because believe me when I tell you, it ain't worth it. So that brings me to mistake number 2, which is a mistake I've been making on Etsy for years, actually. And honestly, I only recently started correcting it. So you know how you might be making sales on Etsy and then a customer reaches out to you and tells you that they would like a variation of the item that you sell? Well, what I was doing was creating custom listings with a title that said something like, let's make something just for you. Why was I doing this? Well, because in some cases I would get scammed by people asking me to create something, and after I would create it, they would decide that they no longer wanted it. That was a problem. And as a new seller, it might be something that you're concerned about too. And I totally understand that and can relate to it. However, if the item they asked for is likely something that other people will want, I recommend you actually create a whole new listing just for that new item instead of a custom listing. And the reason for that is that Etsy ranks your items based on your quality score. Many people think it's based solely on your SEO. However, that's just not the case. Remember that your search engine optimization makes you eligible to be ranked, while your quality score determines how high up you will rank compared to other listings. So what determines your quality score? People liking, buying, and reviewing your stuff. So I only want to sell items that I will actually sell again. That's why creating one-off custom listings isn't a great idea, because we aren't using the quality score that Etsy gives us from that sale. It's okay to do a few custom listings for items you'll never sell again. However, if you plan to sell it more than one time, don't make a custom listing. The last and final mistake I want to introduce to you about selling on Etsy is not doing enough, if any at all, A/B testing. Now, for those of you who don't know, an A/B test is like a science experiment for websites or ads. We change something and see which version makes more people click or buy, so we know what works better and can make improvements to our listings for more sales in the future. So what do I mean by this? I mean in regard to your titles, tags, descriptions, photos, and yes, even your product. When we do the right testing, we can finally figure out what the best SEO options are to use in our listings. It can help us better understand what to change and how to list our items in the future. And it can even help us identify what kinds of products we should and shouldn't be making for our customers based on these A/B test results. I think for me, if I would have done more A/B testing in the beginning, and even now, I would be so much further ahead. And not just related to my search engine optimization, but in regard to my specific products. For example, what if I sold the exact same printable in 2 different fonts? The results of that A/B test are going to tell me a lot about people's font preferences. And as I teach all of my students, sometimes the things that we like are not the things that our customers prefer. So all that to say, A/B testing can make a dramatic difference to our Etsy shop. And that's why not doing it has been a big mistake for me and something I'm going to commit to a bit more moving forward. What's another mistake that people make on Etsy? not having the right habits to consistently grow their shop. If we don't have the right habits when it comes to anything in life, we're not going to get the results that we want. Make sure to check out my video about the habits of a successful Etsy printables seller so that you can make sure to adopt the right habits for a successful Etsy shop. I hope this video is helpful to you, and I'll see you in the next video.